Hi, good evening.
Good evening, sister. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem. No problem. It's a pleasure.
And I'm
It's the
so
first time I'm doing something like that, so I'm
okay.
really excited about it.
Likewise, sister. I'm so happy to have you here. Sister is a final year law student at Campus Law Center, Delhi, and was the winner of KK Luthra Moot Court Competition 2023. So, sister, here we are to talk about the KK Luthra Moot Court Competition. But
Yeah.
before that, I would like to ask you कि आपने ये moot choose ही क्यों किया? Obviously, it is a prestigious moot court competition, and law students who are like moot enthusiasts look forward to this competition. But
Yeah.
what made you choose this specific
All
competition?
right. So basically, what happened is that last year we were asked to be a demo team for KKL. So they were around. I think there were two teams that did not show up, and for the matchups to be even, so the organizing committee asked us to be a demo team.
Okay.
So we got the moot memorials, like the opponent team's memorials, a day before. And we got the teams that we were supposed to represent their memorials also a day before. And while going through the memorial a day before and preparing for it on the day of it, so and Sareen, Aditya, I refer to him as Sareen. So he was my debating partner since undergraduation.
Okay.
We were in the same college in undergraduation and same CLC as well.
Okay.
So we had that sort of rapport built up already. So it wasn't like he was my first time teammate. So during the previous year KKL, we got the memo that day of ours as well as the opposite team. So while going through the memo and while going through the oral rounds, we realized that there's because till that time, we hadn't done a moot together. And I had done one negotiation moot. It wasn't a moot, it was a negotiation competition. And Sareen had done one moot with some other people. So we hadn't done a moot together, but we'd always thought कि एक बार once we settle into second year, then we'll start mooting, because first year में well, I'll get into it once you ask the relevant, you get the relevant part. So in short, we could not break. So the rule was that the dummy team cannot break even if they have the requisite wins and speaks.
Yeah.
So after the two rounds, we got to know from the organizing committee that we actually did break if we were not a dummy team. So that's when we thought कि ठीक है, if we can break with an hour or half an hour of prep, then probably if we do it as a legit competition, then probably next year we might be able to make it all the way. So that's what motivated both of us कि अगले साल 2024 में जब भी KKL होगा, and then it was all like कि by final year भी होगा, उसके बाद वैसे भी moot नहीं करेंगे, it's our home moot, so let's make it the last. वो सब चीजें मान के फिर तो then we were like कि ठीक है, अगले साल फिर KKL करते हैं. So that's how the idea got seeded.
Okay. So KKL is the only moot you have done?
No, I've done with Sareen only. I've done two other moots.
Oh,
one
so
was SGT.
within
Go
1
ahead.
year you did 3 moots, one
Yeah.
KK Luthra, and what about the other two?
The other two, one was SGT and one was DME. Both were competition law related. So this was the only criminal moot that we have done. The other two moots were competition law, purely competition law related. The CCI, in collaboration with colleges, organizes moots. So I think they also have a statutory provision for this, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
it's there in the
CCI
BEAR Act itself.
collaborates and organizes a lot of moot court
Yeah.
competitions.
Yeah.
So let us get into the mooting prep part.
Yeah.
So KK Luthra usually बहुत पहले अपना moot problem release कर देता है. So we were also a participant this year.
Okay. All right.
But we started preparing very late, actually, in December. When did you start, and how did you form the team, first of all?
All right. So as I told you before, so my co-speaker was done. Sareen, we decided last year only that we'd participate. So
you were
what
speaker
happened?
1 and your partner was speaker 2, right?
No, I was speaker 2. My partner was speaker 1.
Right.
Yeah. And so we decided last year only. So what happens is that in our moot court society, there are two ways you get allotted a moot. Okay. Some competitions are first come, first serve. That is, they release a Google form. And as the name suggests, if you're the first team to fill it up, you get the moot.
Okay.
Others are, there's an internal that's conducted. So that's completely at the discretion of the moot court society as to which competitions they organize internals for and for which they have FCFS. That's first come, first serve. So we had so before that, so Sareen said that Sareen's my teammate's name. So
yeah. We get it now.
Yeah. So he said that he had also made a similar pact with one of his classmates that he'd do KKL with her. So I told him कि अब since we have a more long-standing relationship, तो उसको ले ले टीम में, but उसको researcher बनना पड़ेगा. And luckily for us, she is a very well-recognized mooter. She's gone for Viz and she's mentored teams as well. So I think somewhere because Sareen and I are a bit casual in our approach to competitions in general. So I think she was the one who made us understand the impact and importance of KK Luthra in general. So I think she was the one who kept pushing us ki research kar lo, memo bana lo, because we had to make a memo for our internals also.
Okay.
So for our internals, you get allotted one side, like either you're the appellate or the respondent. So I think I can't remember which side we got allotted. So we had to make the memo from that side. So in the internals, once we qualified for the internals, then the society allotted us the competition.
Okay.
And
so,
that's where, yeah.
I want to know how much time did you get to prepare for internals? Because the moot proposition I remember was of some 27, 28 pages. For us to understand the moot problem completely, it took almost 10 to 12 days. So
absolutely. Yes. Some कम से कम 8 से 10 दिन we had to go through the problem only to understand कि अब research किस पे करें. Because the problem there was जो 4 issues दे रखे थे end में वो तो थे, but how do you reach those issues is what we had to go through the problem. कि भाई समझो कि why are these issues given? Why are they important? And for that, we had to go, as you said, at least 10 days, we also spent on reading the problem. And again, this is where I give credit to Kritika. Kritika was our researcher, which is where she kept pushing us कि भाई आसान प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, पढ़ लो, ऐसा नहीं है, एक दिन पढ़ के नई रिसर्च होगी. And I think वो 2 हफ्ते में 10 दिन हमने प्रॉब्लम पढ़ी और उसके बाद वही वी डिवाइड देयर वाज 3 ऑफ अस, तो हमने वो 4 इशू डिवाइड कर लिए कि 2 इशू तुम देख लो. कृतिका वाज लाइक मैं रिसर्चर हूं, मैं पहला इशू देखूंगी, मेरा इंटरनेशनल लॉ स्ट्रांग है, तो बिकॉज़ शी हैड डन moots इन इंटरनेशनल लॉ, सो शी इज लाइक आई विल हैंडल द फर्स्ट इशू व्हिच आई थिंक वाज प्योरली इंटरनेशनल लॉ रिलेटेड ओनली, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, the diplomatic immunity one. Yes. So the other 3 issues,
the thing is कि जो researcher होता है in the moot team, there is always this एक रहता है कि कौन स्पीकर बनेगा, कौन रिसर्चर बनेगा. And as you mentioned, your researcher was already an experienced mooter.
Yeah.
How did you convince her to be a researcher, or was she okay with it?
Yeah, she was fine because Sareen already told her that कि भाई हमारा already pact बन चुका है. And secondly, I think there was no conversation about it as such. She was like कि हाँ ठीक है, मेरे को research बनने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं, because she had already done a lot of moots as speaker. Right. So she was like, yeah, I'm fine with being a researcher, and also I was like, ठीक है, fine.
Who knows कि who is an experienced mooter knows कि तीनों का उतना ही रोल रहता है.
Yeah, exactly.
क्योंकि in fact researcher का थोड़ा और ज्यादा होता है, because she has or he has to know everything on all the issues.
Yes, absolutely. वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि Kritika was a very integral part of the team. Right. And as I said, I understood the importance of the researcher during KKL only. Right. Because she had to have, as you said, she had to have a, if not a deep understanding, at least a prima facie understanding of all the issues. कि ऊपर से तो पता होना ही चाहिए कि appellant साइड से क्या बोलेंगे, रेस्पोंडेंट की साइड से क्या बोलेंगे, इशू ऑफ लॉ क्या है, कौन सा फैक्ट सपोर्ट करता है हमें कौन सी साइड से. So she had to have that understanding, and she was the one who provided us with materials to research on, like the commentaries on international law, commentaries on criminal law. उसने बोला कि भाई ये देखो ये सारी किताबें हैं, ये लो इनके PDF, अब इनमें से तुम्हारे रिसर्च इशू इस पेज से स्टार्ट हो रहे हैं, वहां से तुम पढ़ के अपना रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चन निकालो. So she was like our own SCC that we had. Right. So I think that's the role of the researcher in essence as well, like to aid your speakers in being able to identify their own points of law, because I don't think that the researcher is the only person who should do research, because then as a speaker you'll have no clarity on what your issue is.
You cannot burden her with researching. हो ही नहीं पाएगी ना, हो ही नहीं.
Exactly. हो नहीं पाएगी, और आप as a speaker आपको अगर आप खुद रिसर्च नहीं करोगे तो आपको खुद ही क्लैरिटी नहीं होगी. अगर मैं रिसर्च नहीं करूं, एग्जैक्टली, क्योंकि यू डोंट नो द काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस दैट द जजेस विल आस्क. You can't anticipate that. You can only anticipate it to an extent. And I think that's the only part where a moot court in some way resembles an actual courtroom, is the kind of questioning. Right. Because you don't know, unless and of course you're an experienced advocate, then the ball game is different. But for us who are just starting out in the field, you don't know what kind of question you'll get from the judge.
Absolutely.
So for that, you have to be thorough with the facts and the law. And I think doing your own research is the first step to be able to achieve that.
Right. So after internal rounds, did you continue, like were you consistent all those months?
No. So I think this is where, so I think the competition was supposed to happen in January 1st and then
Right.
it got shifted to March.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the internal got over in September. So when we got the result that we qualified, so we were like, ठीक है, एक साइड का तो बन गया है. So we were like, ठीक है, एक साइड का बन गया है, इसको 5-6 दिन पहले edit कर लेंगे. Deadline for submission, I
I'm
think
sure you
October
guys
में.
did not use that memorial.
Yeah, no, we had to make edits. Of course, we had to make edits. We were like, if basic framework to ready hai, andar ka, and I think October was the deadline for submission of the memorials, if I'm not wrong, October,
Yes.
November. So we were like, कि ये वाला side तो एक हफ्ते पहले देख लेंगे. And then September end, we were like, ठीक है, we have to start the other memo from scratch. So I think September end के आसपास we started the other memo from scratch. And once the memos were done, once the memos were submitted, उसके बाद फिर we were like कि ठीक है जनवरी में होगा तो दिसंबर में we can probably start practicing. And then we got the news that because we had our exams in January, that's why the competition got postponed.
Yes.
So then we were like कि ठीक है मार्च में है तो we can, like, we've already submitted our memo, so for now we can take a break. So I think Feb end में we had, because all of us were doing internships, so I think Feb end में we had a couple of sessions ki just to clarify ki what all we have to speak, because I think the best part about the team was that all three of us had chemistry. Ki nobody, all of us knew what the other was researching on and how the other was going to present, especially Sareen and I, because we had already done a lot of parliamentary debates together and we'd already done a couple of moots. So I knew what points he was going to research on, he knew what points I was going to research on, and so we didn't have to necessarily have a practice session like most other teams require if it's a new teammate. So we didn't have to have that because we knew कि हाँ ठीक है. I was like हाँ ये संभाल लेगा, and he was like हाँ ये संभाल लेगा, but we just had to see.
You had that trust on each other कि हाँ.
Yeah, exactly.
ये हो जाएगा संभाल.
Exactly. हाँ, exactly.
You have to have that chemistry in order to do good, because I remember I've done like 4 or 5 moots. 3 of them were with the same teammate. So we had this chemistry कि हाँ हमको पता है क्या. So we got titles in those moot court competition. The ones which I did with the new teammates, we had to struggle a lot. I mean, not only did we not get any title, but the preparation part was difficult as well.
I understand. I absolutely understand. I think that's, again, as I said, I think the most integral part, because if you spend 2 months on a law issue, you will understand the crux of
Absolutely.
it. Because both of us know कि moot के लिए क्या, even any field of law, corporate, litigation, judicial, सबके लिए आपको research करनी पड़ेगी. आपको एक issue मिलेगा, आपको उस पे case law पढ़ना पड़ेगा और अपने facts पे apply करना पड़ेगा. देखने में तो बस A+B = C, इतना ही simple है और कुछ नहीं करना. केस लॉ पढ़ो, फैक्ट्स पे अप्लाई करो और देखो कि कैसे आप इसको यूज कर सकते हो. उतना ही है.
वो केस लॉज जो हम यूज कर रहे हैं, मैक्सिमम टीम्स वो यूज कर रहे होंगे.
Exactly.
It's your understanding and your creative thinking. आप उसको
कैसे, और आप अपने टीम, और आपको इसमें सबसे, जैसे आपने बोला कि आपकी टीममेट के साथ केमिस्ट्री. नाउ आई थिंक द बेस्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट इज, लेट्स से जैसे आप और आपके टीममेट दोनों ने 4 इशू पे रिसर्च करें, थोड़ा थोड़ा आपको उसके इशू के बारे में पता है और उसको आपके इशू के बारे में पता है. But when the judge asks them a question, that's when, if you have good chemistry with your teammate, both of you, more or less, if not anything, at least 70 to 80% will think of the answer on the same line. More or less teammates में जब chemistry नहीं होती, दिक्कत ये हो जाती है कि वो कुछ बोलते हैं, आप कोई और आंसर सोचते हो, फिर आप उस चीज को हटा, क्योंकि आपको लगता है कि यार इसने तो contradictory चीज बोल दी है, फिर then you go in your speech, you try to change that, and that's where you lose marks.
Yeah.
And I think that's why chemistry is most important, because if you can anticipate your teammates' move, I think you've won half the battle. Then it's all research कि कौन कितना time बिता सकता है research करने में. I think it's mainly quantity of time there.
Absolutely. Also, law same है, सबको वो laws मिल जाएंगे.
Yeah.
But I think one thing which the seniors told me when I was about to go for the freshers moot, that is the first moot we go as a first year law student. We do as first year law student is read moot proposition for like twice a day, from the day you start to the day you go to present. You should read moot proposition every day at least twice.
Yeah.
लेकिन ये बोलते सब है, आफ्टर अ पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू गेट बोर्ड कि नहीं यार हो गया, अब तो पता है.
Absolutely, 100%. I think this is something that every senior tells, because our seniors also told us the same thing कि भाई कुछ करो ना करो, मूड प्रोपोजिशन हर दिन पढ़ो. एंड अगेन एज यू सेड, एक हफ्ता 10 दिन बाद फटीग हो जाता है कि लगता है कि यार अब क्या सेम चीज दोबारा पढ़ें. बट इसमें एज आई मीन आई थिंक यू एक्सप्लेन्ड इट परफेक्टली कि जब अगर आप रिसर्च करते हो, जैसे आप रिसर्च करते हो, आपको एक नया लॉ पॉइंट मिलता है, फिर रिसर्च करने के बाद इफ यू गो थ्रू द प्रॉब्लम अगेन, देन यू फाइंड अ न्यू फैक्ट. बिकॉज फैक्ट्स तो आपको सारे पता है. आई थिंक द रीजन बिहाइंड आस्किंग यू टू रीड इट अगेन एंड अगेन इज हाउ यू यूज दैट फैक्ट. अगर वो 15 फैक्ट ही हैं, वो आपको पता ही है वो 15 फैक्ट ही हैं, उसके ऊपर कुछ नहीं जाना, उसके नीचे कुछ नहीं जाना. बट अब वो 15 फैक्ट एक दूसरे के साथ इंटरलिंक्ड कैसे हैं, आप इसको कौन से फैक्ट को यूज कर सकते हो, बिकॉज more often than not what happens is a fact that you feel is against you ends up being in your favor.
Right.
And I think that's where you talked about creative thinking, and where you talked about how you're using your own mind to apply the law, because as you said the law is the same. Case law वही 10 हैं जो हर कोई यूज करने वाला है, इसमें कुछ अलग नहीं. अब कल को मैं बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर बोलूंगा तो हर कोई केशवानंद भारती बोलेगा ही बोलेगा. I mean, there's nobody who will not say it, but it depends on how you use that fact to persuade the judge that you're correct on that issue of law. And I think that's you can only do with the support of facts, nothing else. अगर आपको facts की thorough understanding है तो आप उसको यूज कर सकते हो अपने फेवर में.
आई ऑल्सो बिलीव कि जो जज है उनको शायद लॉ हमसे बहुत बेटर पता होगा, बट हमारे केस के फैक्ट्स हमको पता है उनसे बहुत बेटर. सो वी शुड लाइक वी कैन यूज फैक्ट्स टू turn the law in our favor.
Absolutely. And I think one major difference between moot courts and actual courts is that moot courts में the judges are told to grill you a lot more than actual court, because actual courts का इतना time नहीं है. We know the kind of pendency that there is, right? They don't have time to grill every advocate that comes there. But moot court में, even if the judge knows that you're making a right point or a correct point, they're told to grill you further so that you get prepared for the actual profession.
Yes.
And I think this is where also a lot of win or loss happens for the team, because what I have observed is that a lot of people, they have the correct proposition of law, they have the perfect understanding of facts, but they cave to the pressure of the judges. And I think that's where they lose the battle, and probably the war as well, right? Because the judge is there to specifically judge you on this parameter, that are you able to stand the pressure that's coming from the bench. And if you are unable to do that, even if you have a correct proposition of law, because in the end, see, it's about two things. You firstly convince the judge that you are on the correct side of law, and secondly, and probably more important, is that your client deserves the kind of justice that you are batting for.
Yes.
For example, if I want bail for my client, that my client deserves bail in this situation. I know the law on bail is something that the judge expects me. ये तो given है. अब मैं advocate हूँ तो मुझे law on bail पता होना चाहिए. But अब मेरे client के लिए वो law on bail क्यों applicable है और मेरे client को क्यों bail मिलना चाहिए, that's what the judge is concerned about. That's what I am concerned about.
Right.
And उसमें more important than law, it's about your ability to withstand the pressure, as well as at the same time to persuade the judge that yes, I am right in this manner, and please grant me the prayer that I have asked for.
That's right.
And that's what mooting prepares you for.
Absolutely.
I'm so sorry.
No. The judges who grill you more ends up giving you more marks.
Exactly. Yes.
Because
100%.
they give you an opportunity to convince them and
yes.
let them know how much you know.
Exactly. I think this happened with us in the semis. So in the semis, we had a brilliant bench. I think all three of them were senior advocates, designated senior advocates. And the part was that my first speaker, so he usually starts speaking with we believe, like whenever he wanted to make a statement, he said we believe. So the bench was like, counsel, we don't care what you believe, what's the law? And then I have a tendency to start statements with the fact that we think. So the bench was like, your co-counsel believes and you think, but nobody knows the law. And then they grilled us for about 15-20 minutes. And then, of course, they're senior advocates, so they know a lot more. They were talking about random CRPC sections as to how is this applicable, how is this not, whether cognizance can be taken by the magistrate in this specific situation. And I was like, bro, मैंने तो नहीं पढ़ा ये सब, अब कैसे? And then, but somehow, so they were trying to grill us, but somehow we stood our ground that this is what our memo says, this is what our arguments are. एंड घुमा फिरा के हम वही आर्ग्यूमेंट आपको देंगे. अगर वैसे रियल कोर्ट होता तो probably we would not have gotten the relief. But right now our goal is to convince you that we can stand your pressure. That's it. Because they know कि भाई their practice is older than us. है ना? So they know that they know more law than us at any given point of time. So they're not there to judge us on our legal acumen. Right. They're there to judge us on our ability to stand the pressure and ensure that we don't concede anything. I think also, that's what you have to do.
Also, we don't need to be better than the judges. We just need to be better than the opposite.
Exactly. Yes. From a competitive point of view, though, there are a lot of things that you need to do in a moot, because I think more often than not, you can win half the battle if you're able to convince the other team that you're better than them. आप जजेस को भी मत कन्विंस करो. आपको बस आप सामने वाली टीम को लगना चाहिए कि यार इनको तो बहुत आता है, इनको इनसे कैसे जीतेंगे. बस they've lost half the battle there. And on the flip side, never think yourself कि इनको हमसे ज्यादा आता है. Even if you know कि यार ये तो बहुत बड़ा मूटर है, ये तो बहुत मूट जीत के आई है, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, don't let that affect you in the courtroom. बाहर आप उनसे टिप्स लो, जो करना है करो, बट अंदर आपको लगना चाहिए कि भाई मैं ही कपिल सिब्बल, मैं ही हरी साल. That's the attitude that you should have.
I want to share something on this, but before that, I would just ask you, did you go for any, like you mentioned, you did not need any practice rounds as such, but did you go 1 or 2 practice rounds at least?
So I think the internal that we had was practice enough, because as I said, so what we did is that we didn't have a practice round, but we did have meetings to see कि अब जैसे the 3 of us sat together like this on Zoom, and we were like कि what arguments are we putting forward on what issue, and then the other 2 would be like okay, I think this argument is good, don't use this argument, use this argument instead, etc. So जैसे आपका memo के आप you don't read out the memo.
Yes.
You have your memo and then you draw analysis
you
from that.
You have to have
memo.
a transcript.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we did was that कि memorial के कौन से arguments हमें use करने हैं और कौन से arguments are a necessary derivative of our memo. Because I think this is also something that I'd like to point out, is that always keep certain arguments in your backpack. Like don't let it explicitly be shown in your memo. But at the same time, don't let it be a completely new argument. Because what happens is that you usually get the memo a day or 2 before. So अगर आपके सारे ही arguments explicitly mentioned हैं, so it gives time for the opponents to, because if you know you're putting an argument, you know there's a counter to it.
Yes.
अगर एक case law है आपके favor में, तो आपको उसका दूसरा case law भी पता है, क्योंकि you're researching from both sides. So don't be explicit with your arguments. At least all arguments.
Also, उसका काउंटर है, ये हमको बहुत बाद में पता चलता है. When we read the moot proposition, I'm sure हर मूटर को एक बार मूट proposition पढ़ के लगता है कि ये तो इसी साइड से है.
हाँ, yes, 100%.
ये तो 100%. बनाया ही पिटिशनर के लिए है.
रिस्पोंडेंट
तो कुछ नहीं करने वाला इसमें. बट
ये हम फाइनल तक ही सोचा था हमने.
हाँ, बट व्हेन यू रिसर्च यू गेट टू नो कि नहीं भाई, there are a lot of things which you can use from the other side as well.
Exactly. I think that's I think apart from the pressure part that we talked about, researching is the number 1 skill that mooting teaches you. And I think as a law student, no matter what you want to do, if you want to join academics, if you want to join the bench, if you want to join the bar, if you want to be a corporate associate, no matter what you want to do, researching is the only skill that you need to have. Even if you don't have any other skill, you can develop them. But of course, you can develop your researching skill as well. But researching is the base minimum that you need to have for you to be able to understand also what's the kind of assignments that you're getting.
Absolutely. Now coming to the part where you mentioned कि other team जो है, opposing teams जो है, उनको ये लगना चाहिए कि आपको उनसे ज्यादा आता है. So what happened in our preliminary round? We usually you do get the memos 1 or 2 days prior, but I think for KK Luthra we got the memorials of other teams 10 to 12 days before the competition.
Achha, okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the specific. Okay.
So we saw the memorial of the other team and we were like, oh my god, this is so good. Like the memorial was really nice. They had a lot of comments. 65 citations थे उनके. ठीक है. But हमारा preliminary 1 बहुत अच्छा गया था. So we were confident कि preliminary 2 में भी हम कर लेंगे. उस समय हमारा ऐसा था कि petitioner side strong है, respondent weak है, और हमने respondent निकाल लिया, हम petitioner भी निकाल लेंगे. But the other team was good. what happened is we made our arguments and we were confident. They were, I don't know what happened with them in the previous round, but they were a little underconfident. And what she did was, when the judge was questioning in grilling, she used the arguments from other side. She messed up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was very unfortunate, but that was the pressure. And
Yeah.
I think they got intimidated and they messed up. Otherwise, they had brilliant arguments in their memorial. So this is what happens if you are not confident enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree, because I think this happened with us also in one of the preliminary rounds, is wherein the speaker got confused. And I think this happened to me in the final also. So what happened was that in the final, when I was rewatching the final, that's when I realized that my final argument, I think I had about a minute or two left. And Justice Neena Bansal was asking me a question. And I think it was regarding the validity of the discovery from the confession statement, Section 27 Evidence Act. So my entire argument was from the other side. So out of 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes, I argued about how the Apple or the JJ Crook, the accused, was not guilty or could not be held liable on the basis of his statement. And I was the prosecution. So as soon as I realized that, I looked at her and she was looking at me. And then I somehow said, and that's why he is liable. Like, my entire argument was how he's not liable. And my last line was, that's why he's liable. And then I was like, no, I'm much obliged, you're not sure that I went away. And you can see it in the YouTube final, wherein I'm looking at myself. And in the moment you can see it in like a cartoon character, I realized, damn, okay, I screwed up a little, and I'm like, I have to change it somehow. Yeah. So I think that's what matters. You have to have that sort of a
presence of
on the spot thinking. Yeah, exactly. You need to be a little, you have to improvise. I mean, I think any field, but particularly the legal field, you have to have a sense of improvisation in whatsoever you have to do. Because as you said, like, the law is so vast, you can't know everything. So you have to improv a little to be able to convince the other person, no matter what your point is.
Right. Also, how did you handle the nervousness of the D-Day? Because, the judges was justice of Delhi High Court and such personalities. So, like, how were your legs shaking?
Yeah, so I think this is where my internship experience helped me a little. So of course you're always nervous when you're arguing before such, like, they're literally justices of the Delhi High Court, right? So you're not even an enrolled advocate as of now. So of course there's an amount of nervousness that you can't get rid of. I don't know if it'll be there 10 years later, but right now, of course, there's an amount of nervousness. Yes. But however, what I felt was that I don't have to look at it from a point of view where it's making me more nervous. Like, if I keep thinking about it that, oh no, they're justices of the Delhi High Court, they know so much, they are literally people who give they are justice personified, right? That's why they're called justices. So I don't have to look at that. I just have to see that it's a final of a competition. These are 3 judges who are here to judge me on my arguments and my memorial. That's it. Right. So I approached it from that point of view. And I think that helped me calm down a little. And of course, other than that, as I said, I think the biggest aspect is that you should have fun in these competitions. Like, if you don't have fun, you'll always be nervous. So before the tournament, before the final began, so all 3 of us were just sitting around cracking jokes on random stuff. Like, we weren't talking about the memo at all. We were like, ab jo hona to kar liya. Ab jitni research karni thi, because we were making arguments till the semis. Till the semis, every round we came up with a new argument. Ki bhai hum ye bhi use kar sakte hain, ye bhi use kar sakte hain. I think you also experienced that, right? After every round, दूसरे की साइड सुन के, अपनी साइड सुन के, आपको लगता है कि यार ये हम यूज कर सकते हैं. Like, even in a memorial, like when you get a memo, if you see a good argument in the opponent's memo, you like, हाँ ठीक है, अगर हमें ये साइड मिलेगा हम ये यूज कर लेंगे. So because
you try to justify कि हमने यहाँ पे ये चीज लिखा है.
Exactly. So these are the tricks of the trade, right?
Yeah.
Because इतना तो आपको करना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो बिल्कुल ही clean sheet के साथ, I think it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So you use the arguments of the other side. So till semis we kept that, but till the final we were like, bhai, it's theek hai. Now there's nothing new that we can come up with. So might as well just chill out and talk about random stuff. So that's what we did. I think that helped us a lot in calming down our nerves.
Yeah. Also, the best thing about these competitions, which are like the prominent ones and the prestigious ones, is the quality of judges are very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because बहुत बार जो normal moot courts होते हैं, tier 2, tier 3 maybe, वहाँ पे random judges होते हैं उनके मार्किंग क्राइटेरियाज बहुत अलग होते हैं, उनके क्वेश्चंस भी बहुत अलग होते हैं. बहुत बार होता है कि दे आर नॉट वेल वर्स्ड विद द मूट प्रोपोजिशन. व्हाट आई नोटिस्ड इज कि every judge was well versed with the facts of the cases, even though in the finals they were high court justices and they are so busy, but they had done their homework.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think, I don't know if I should say this or not, but a lot of, as you said, tier 2, tier 3 moots is wherein certain practicing advocates are judges for the competition. I think some of them lose track that why they're here, because I have experienced this. Some of them want to show their superiority over you.
Absolutely.
As to, they're like कि screw the competition, हमें तुमसे ज़्यादा आता है, तुम हमें answer back नहीं कर सकते.
We were talking about the finals, right? You thought you messed up, but you covered it up at the end.
Yeah.
Something which we missed is, how do you manage time? I mean, if you did not had any practice sessions, then how did you manage time? Because that is what a lot of teams mess up.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think this is where, so in my undergrad, I used to do a lot of parliamentary debates.
Yeah.
So I think that experience helped me a lot, because in parliamentary debates, you speak for about 7.5 minutes. And I think that was roughly what we had during the prelims also.
Yes.
So I think that experience helped me in terms of managing my time. And then what I knew was that quarters ke baad, majority of the time will go into questioning only. If it's because usually after quarters, there's a hot bench. Like they tend to question you a lot rather than you giving a monologue. So I thought that what both Sareen and I thought is that we'll just cover our issues and we'll try to keep them as crisp as possible. And the most important point we'll raise first. And after that, if there were any questions, we'll allot majority of our time to answering those questions. And if after that we still had any time left, then because all of us as speakers know कि ये हमारा एक सबसे ज़्यादा strong argument है और ये 2-3 चीजें हम तब बोलेंगे अगर time बचा तो. So I think those numbers kept varying as and when the rounds proceeded. And I think that allowed us to more or less manage our time efficiently.
Also, if you are very well versed with your arguments and the facts, you are able to improvise that accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think and this is where I think it's more of a public speaking issue than moot specific.
Yes.
I think a lot of speakers just read out from their memorial or read out from a script that they've prepared.
Yes.
And I think that, because then what they think is कि मेरी शेयर में मैंने इतना सब कुछ लिखा है, खत्म करना है, मुझे पूरा बोलना है चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. They're asking a question, तुम like हाँ नहीं मैं अपनी बात बोल. हाँ, exactly. And I think that messes up their time and what the judges are asking them also. So I think you can just
Sometimes judges do it on purpose कि वो आपका time करेंगे and now they'll ask you to sum up in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yes. हाँ.
Yeah.
They'll be like कि हाँ उनको पता है कि आपका majority chunk रहता है and then like हाँ 30 seconds में sum up करो. Because I think that's also what you require as a skill in law, right? Because I've like on LinkedIn, on Instagram, you keep reading posts.
Yes.
So one of the posts that I read is that how a senior asked his junior to reduce I think 5,000 page brief to 200 or 300 words. And the junior was like, he tried his best. And this was all a post. I'm just, I probably hear say. So the post said that he reduced it to about 10 pages. And then when he handed the same brief to his senior was able to use only one side of a sheet of a 5,000 page brief. And I think that's a skill that you need to have. I don't know what the truth is behind the post, of course. But overall on principle level, I think that's a skill that you should have. Like, अगर मुझसे कोई पूछे कि आप ये 10 case law on any particular issue, on bail, on arrest, etc. आप 30 seconds के अंदर एक non-legal background के इंसान को समझा सको. I think that's where you as a lawyer or you as a student of law have understood the concept.
Yes. I completely agree with that. और ये हो गया. So 25-30 pages की moot proposition को बहुत कम time में sum up करना भी it's a skill. What they are trying to, what they want you to have when you enter the profession.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree with that, because I think, and this is where you also learn, right? Because in the end, keeping the competitive spirit aside, keeping the nature that we have as students की नहीं जीतना है, उन सबको side रख के, from a student of law's perspective, I think moots are there to teach you these skills that you require I think they're a necessity in the profession. And as I said, no matter how we want to practice the profession, these are skills that you need to have. And I think moots are one of the best ways to acquire them, or at least get into the habit of it.
Now we talked about the quality of judges. Also, what the difference which I saw in this moot court competition and others is, it's not just a moot court competition. Like the final was a party.
Yeah.
So you have like hundreds of professionals there, judges, and so many people there celebrating you when you win.
All right, so the winner is Campus Law Center. The prize.
I think the icing on the cake, if I may put it that way, because while we were arguing and while the preparations for the final ceremony were going on, I noticed that there were literally legal luminaries sitting, not even on the bench, but on the front row, like designated senior advocates, retired Supreme Court justices, High Court justices, and because they won't remember me, they won't remember the finalists, but for us, that yes, ki kabhi na kabhi ek baar humne unke samne argue kara tha, it's a big thing, I feel. And even if we didn't end up winning the competition, I think that feeling is something that we would have taken back. Now at least we were able to argue in front of judges, sitting justices, and they were retired justices right behind. It's like probably at an arm's length.
Yes.
So, and I feel, and some of them while listening, because all of them were sitting listening to you, none of probably 1% of them were checking their phones in the middle, but 99% of them were absolutely designatedly listening to what you were saying.
Yes.
So I think that those reactions, that when I rewatched the video, those reactions on certain arguments, they were like appreciating certain arguments, they were a little iffy on certain arguments. So I think those reactions is something that was the main takeaway of the final, apart from, of course, the material accolades. But I feel that was something that inspires you and keeps you motivated, if not anything else.
Absolutely. But I want to ask you about this. People talk about networking opportunities that you get when you participate in offline moot court competitions or any other competitions for that matter. Obviously, we got connected because I saw you there and I know that you won and you were absolutely brilliant that day. But did you get any other opportunity because of that? Apart from the rewards that you got for the competition, but apart from that?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll answer the latter part first and then I'll talk about the networking aspect. So the latter part is that, luckily for us, so what happened is that after the semifinals, Advocate Shiv Chopra was the one who drafted the problem. So he offered us an internship opportunity after the semis. And he was like, if you are into traditional litigation, then once you graduate, then you can, of course, it wasn't a 100% secure job offer, but he was like, you can come work with me for a while as interns, and then if the team works well, if you're able to blend it, then you can turn it into an associate, like a junior for me. I think that was an opportunity that physically materialized itself immediately because of KKL. But now answering the first part, I think that's the aspect of networking is something that I have never been able to wrap my mind around, because so what I feel, a lot of my friends, a lot of my acquaintances keep telling me that you should network, and now you see lines such as your net worth is your network, and like all of these things, like LinkedIn is a $1 billion business because of this aspect of networking, right? But I've never been able to wrap my head around it. I don't know what networking is, because if you see someone, you talk to them, and then now what? Like, are they part of my network? What is it? Because it's an alien concept. It's as tough for me as physics. Like, if you ask me to explain to you rocket science, it's similar. I don't know what networking is. I can't explain it. I can't understand it. So I think that's something that I'm not the correct person to answer. But the other part was that, yes, we did. And as you said, I think because now you contacted me via LinkedIn because of KKL. Now, I think this is what is called networking.
Yes.
But at the same time, I am not the one who networked. So I don't know what it is and how it materializes itself.
So the final question to you is, any advice for, obviously, throughout this conversation, we have spoken about what works for mooting and what not. But to someone who wants to start their mooting career, what would you say to them?
Okay, so I think the first aspect is, see, mooting is not the only way in which you can increase your skills or your ability and the law. So I think first and foremost, ask yourself, is this the way for you? Do you like it? That's the only thing. You don't need to be good at it. You don't need to be the best at it. You don't even need to be average. You can be the worst at it. But the first question you should ask yourself is, क्या मुझे मजा आता है? अब कल को मैं जजेस के सामने 5 से 7 मिनट अपना पॉइंट रखना चाहता हूँ. Do I like it? Do I have fun doing it? If that answer is in the affirmative, then definitely go for mooting. If that answer is in the negative, then there are other ways you can go about it. Right? So again, coming back, if you like the major aspect of mooting is speaking in front of people, then the first thing you should do is, see, what I'd suggest is, in a 3-year law school, don't do mooting till the second year. I don't know the curriculum of 5 year, but I'd say still second year. Because in the first year, you're just getting accustomed to the subject. And now as a 4th year law student yourself, you understand that there's a difference between how a non-law student thinks about the world in general and how a law student thinks about the world in general. It may not be a zameen asman ka farak, but there is a difference. Right? So once you get that difference, then go for it. Then see, I think mooting, like law, is very much practice makes perfect, right? So first and foremost is, from a practical aspect, as you said, जो हमने बात करी कि read the problems as many times as you can read the problem. Second, now that you have so many AI tools at your aid, if you are not able to understand the problem, use AI to simplify. Don't use AI for research, right? Because that's not dependable for now, at least. You don't know what will happen in the next 2 years, but for now, it's not dependable. So use AI to simplify the problem. You may not use that simplified version in the final competition, but at least, because, as I said, you should be able to explain the problem to a non-legal mind, to a non-legal student. If you're able to do that, that means कि आपको अपनी problem समझ आ गई है. एक बार problem समझ आ गई है, then you know कि हाँ, मुझे research किस पे करना है. Problem नहीं समझ आएगी तो you don't know what you need to research on. Once you understand the problem, then you know what to research on, and then research it's a basic step. Like, if practically first thing that you do is type the issue word by word in Google पे type करो आप. उसके बाद basic 1-2 article आएंगे, you will understand कि what is the issue demanding of me.
Yes.
And once you get that, then you can access commentaries, legal databases, and then use that on the facts and make arguments. And I think the best way, as if you are someone who's interested in mooting, I think the best way to improve your analytical thinking and argument making skills is to read case laws. Don't read a commentary as much as you need to read case laws, because a case law allows your mind to understand the law in the manner that you're supposed to argue it in front of a court.
Right.
And I think that makes a huge difference between someone who's just read a commentary and someone who's probably not read the entire commentary but read a lot of case laws on the topic. I think that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So I'll just sum up whatever we have discussed.
Yeah.
First of all, get the right team. You need to have a chemistry with your team, not just because they are excellent mooters, but you should understand each other and be able to trust each other.
Yes. There should be a camaraderie between the three of you, for sure.
Right. Read your moot propositions. You should know your facts by heart and everything.
Yeah.
Now, you need to be confident enough that you are not getting intimidated by the judge or by the opposite.
Yes.
And
no matter, you may be wrong, but that doesn't matter. Stand your ground.
So, finals may, if you are making arguments from the other side and you are able to win it because you stood your ground. So, that...
Yeah, exactly. And I realized my mistake. And I just made the end line XYZ, but A. You know, things like that. So, yeah.
So, smart work.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, apparently.
Obviously. And, that's pretty much it. After that, we can follow the same process. Research karna hai, memorial banana hai, arguments dene hai.
Exactly.
That's it. Exactly. Wonderful. It was really nice talking to you. I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. It was.
I am so happy because I have been doing this for a while now. It's been like, it's going to be our 15th episode or 14th episode.
Okay.
So I do enjoy podcasting and I do enjoy recording it, but I enjoyed it also because I love mooting. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
we were
that's
discussing.
what allowed us to bond over our
Yeah.
love for singing, for sure.
Thank you so
And
much.
it was a great pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think it was a great pleasure. And all the best for your podcast. And as I said, I hope you reach 1 million followers and more. And I definitely recommend your podcast to everyone, at least after this episode, for sure. And thank you so much for having me over. It was as I said, I think I'm not just repeating myself. It was a great experience. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for taking.
Thank you.
Sista, do you have